California realtors have found a new way to screw over California homebuyers. New paperwork produced for 2025 is wreaking havoc on uninformed California homebuyers, locking some homebuyers into working with incompetent agents, forcing other homebuyers to pay commission to agents who aren't even representing them. In this video, I'm breaking down the new California homebuyer representation agreements, the forms that homebuyers are required to sign before viewing a single home. If you're planning to buy a home in California, this is information you cannot do without, because signing the wrong form could cost you thousands. By the end of this video, you'll know what forms are safe, what forms aren't, what items you should never initial, and what form you should never, ever sign. Plus, I'm exposing the bullshit jargon California realtors use in these agreements to mislead, dare I say lie, to their own clients. I'm Jon Schwartz, California's 1% homebuyer agent, and my mission is to keep California homebuyers from getting screwed over. That's why I never ask my clients to sign an exclusive representation agreement. And if you don't know exactly what that means, then this video is specifically for you. So keep watching. Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. If you have any questions about the legal documents discussed in this video, please direct them to a real estate attorney. First, a very brief history lesson to explain where we are now. This new paperwork drama developed out of an antitrust lawsuit that the National Association of Realtors lost and settled last year. Some good came out of the settlement. Rules about how agents get paid were reformed to provide a little more transparency. But then the realtors crammed a real gimme into the settlement. They pushed through a new rule that requires homebuyers to sign a homebuyer representation agreement with a realtor before viewing homes. So now, whether you click the Request a Tour button on Zillow, or call the listing agent directly, or connect with a family referral, the first thing you'll be asked to do is sign a representation agreement that puts your relationship with the agent and how much you have to pay them and under what circumstances in writing. And to create as much confusion as possible, the California Association of Realtors has produced 4 different agreements, though they're not all bad. In fact, 2 forms are completely safe to sign. The first is this, the Openhouse Visitor Non-Agency Disclosure and Sign-In. You might see this, as the name suggests, at open houses, and it is 100% safe to sign. Signing this form simply reinforces that you, the homebuyer, do not have an agency relationship with the agent selling the house. The agent does not represent you. Anything the agent says is for the seller's benefit, not yours, and the agent can share your conversation with the seller. Everything on this form is true whether you sign it or not, so if you walk into an open house and the agent there requests your signature on this form, it's okay to sign. There's also a heavyweight version of the open house sign-in form called the Buyer or Tenant Non-Agency Agreement. And this is an explicit agreement that the seller's agent does not also represent you, the buyer. Now, by default, nobody represents you unless you hire them to, but the state of California recognizes something called implied agency. So you could end up in an unusual situation in which a seller's agent wants you to sign this. If so, go ahead and sign. Where you have to be careful, very careful, is with the next 2 documents we're going to discuss. These are the 2 representation agreements you'll encounter when you connect with an agent to see homes. And if you don't understand what you're signing, you could lock yourself into working with an incompetent agent, or worse, paying an agent who doesn't even represent you. We're talking about the Buyer Representation and Broker Compensation Agreement and the Property Showing and Representation Agreement. These 2 documents do the same thing. They establish the commission your agent will get for helping you buy a home, and they specify how long you'll be working with your agent. But one of these documents, if initialed incorrectly, can put you on the hook for an agent's commission whether you end up working with them or not. And the other document, you should just never sign to begin with. And both documents are filled with misdirection and doublespeak, so let's just dive right in. The Buyer Representation and Broker Compensation Agreement starts by defining the representation period, which cannot be more than 3 months. However, further down the page, by the heading Continued Right to Payment for Broker-Involved Properties, the contract defines a continuation period, which has no limit. What is a continuation period? Well, broker shall be entitled to the compensation provided for in paragraph 2E1, that's the paragraph that talks about your agent's commission, if, during the continuation period specified in paragraph 2E3, buyer enters into an agreement to acquire property for which there was broker involvement. So there's a representation period, which can be up to 90 days, and then also a continuation period, which can be any number of days, during which the agent is still entitled to a commission. My advice? Don't sign up for a representation period longer than 30 days, and don't accept any continuation period longer than 0 days. Why? Because fuck that whole concept of a continuation period. It's this kind of bullshit that gives realtors a bad name, and you shouldn't stand for it. And that's the agreement I offer my clients: 30-day representation period and no continuation period. Learn more about working with a California agent who offers a fair representation agreement at my website, jonsch.com. That's www.jonsch.com. The next important item is type of representation, and by default, this is a non-exclusive representation agreement. And that sounds great, right? This is an agreement to work with an agent, and since it's non-exclusive, that means you can work with another agent if this one turns out to be a sleazebag or just not great, right? But that's not actually how these non-exclusive representation agreements work. A non-exclusive agreement means compensation is payable only if there was broker involvement. And broker involvement is defined as showing a property virtually, submitting an offer, doing some market analysis, or even just introducing a property to a potential buyer. So let's be really clear about what this means. Even though the representation agreement is non-exclusive, if the agent shows you a home, researches a home, or even just introduces you to a home, you owe that agent a commission if you like and buy the home. This is really important for California homebuyers to understand, because dishonest real estate agents are out there saying, look, I need you to sign an agreement before we can look at homes. It's the new rule, but don't worry, it's a non-exclusive agreement, so you're not even obligated to work with me, which is true-ish, but you are obligated to pay that agent a commission if you buy one of the homes he shows you, even if you want to work with another agent to buy it. This is why it's so important when you're getting ready to purchase a home to talk to several agents and actively choose whom you want to work with. When you click Request a Tour on Zillow or Request Showing on Redfin, you're getting connected to whichever agent paid the most for you. And agents who have to pay for leads are often shitty agents. So while you're getting pre-approved for your loan, also talk to some agents, like me. Schedule time for us to chat at jonsch.com to see if you might like working with me to supercharge your offers with my low 1% commission.
Nailed it.
That's www.jonsch.com. Now here's what's totally crazy. Most agents aren't satisfied with the terms of a non-exclusive agreement. Most agents will give you an agreement with this box checked, making it an exclusive representation agreement, which means broker is entitled to compensation if buyer acquires property during the representation period or any extension with or without broker involvement, even if another broker is also entitled to be paid for representing buyer. Long story short, never sign an exclusive representation agreement. It entitles the agent to a commission if you buy a property, period. If you find an agent you like better, too bad. If your uncle wants to sell you his condo without agents involved at all, too fucking bad. You have agreed, for the duration of the contract, to give this agent a commission no matter what. And to add injury to insult, by default, canceling an exclusive representation agreement requires 30 days notice. WTF, California Association of Realtors? And the California Association of Realtors knows how onerous an exclusive representation agreement is, because for it to take effect, you have to initial this special section of the contract at the top of page 5 that repeats the language we saw before. It's like double checking with you that you understand the terrible decision you're making. So guys, listen, whatever you do, don't initial paragraph 15. It's got a box around it, so you'll notice it's a special section. Don't initial inside the box. When I DocuSign these contracts to my clients, I don't even give them the option to initial inside this box. So long as you don't initial inside the box, and you understand what non-exclusive means in the context of this agreement, and you have a 0-day continuation period, the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement is fine to sign after you've already spoken to the agent and feel confident about working with them. In contrast, I recommend you never sign the property showing and representation agreement. Just never use it. Here's why. Contracts are cumbersome, and they get in the way of the Realtor industrial complex. Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and the other listings websites make a lot of money connecting home buyers to agents to see homes. And like I said, as part of a legal settlement, realtors are now required to have a representation agreement in place before showing a home. So to keep the whole process well lubricated, the California Association of Realtors came out with a streamlined 2 pages and change representation agreement called the Property Showing and Representation Agreement. And this is just like the longer buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, except that you list specific properties to be covered. The representation period is limited to 30 days, and these shorter agreements can only be non-exclusive, which is the pitch you'll get if you connect with an agent through Zillow. He'll point out that the agreement is limited and non-exclusive, but you just watched this video, so you know that broker involvement entitles the agent to a commission, and you also know that showing a home is considered broker involvement. So by the terms of this non-exclusive property showing and representation agreement, you are committing to pay a commission to the agent who shows you the homes listed on the agreement. This doublespeak and deception blows my mind. So my rule of thumb is don't even mess with the property showing and representation agreement. Stick with the longer buyer representation and broker compensation agreement now that you understand it. Just make sure it's filled out correctly. Look, I'm just trying to bring some reason and honesty to the realtor industrial complex. Agents like to talk about the value they bring to their clients, but truthfully, agents make most of their money by gatekeeping the process. Don't believe me? Check out my video covering the California realtor scam that's still, today, grifting millions of dollars from unsuspecting California homebuyers every year. And subscribe for more in-depth videos about the California home buying process.